And it is amazing to think of all these bees on this frame that boils down to one who's working to release the queen, just one.
Oh my gosh, can we end the debate? Which way to put a queen cage in a hive? Do you put the candy facing down? Do you put the candy facing horizontal? Do you put the queen cage in the hive with the candy facing up? Can we just end this debate once and for all? Let's do our own experiment and find out which way's better. What's up everybody, David Burns with you again, EAS Certified Master Beekeeper. I'm fired up today about a beekeeping video. I think you'll really enjoy this one. We're gonna dive into a hive, we're gonna steal the queen out of there and do some experimenting on that queen cage to find out which way works better. While we're in that hive, it'll give you a chance if you're new to beekeeping, brand new maybe this year, and maybe you're not comfortable inspecting hives just yet. This will give you a chance to kind of watch what I'm doing during my hive inspection. Maybe you'll learn a tip or two. Now, if this is your first time to drop by my channel, thanks so much, and I want to encourage you to please subscribe. By subscribing, I'm hoping to help you become a better beekeeper. You're going to gain a lot of value from my beekeeping channel in how to keep healthier bees. So please subscribe. By all means, take a moment right now to give me a thumbs up and click on the bell so you'll be notified each time I make a new video. Hey, we're going to have coffee time after we get out of the hive and our experiment's over. Going to talk to you about some things about life that's going to be helpful to you. Coffee time. Man, you guys have been beating me up. You've been just slamming me saying, where's coffee time? What happened to coffee time? All right, I've kind of bowed down to the peer pressure of your comments of our YouTube channel community here, and we're gonna have coffee time. And I'm really pumped up that we've crossed the 90,000 subscriber mark. We're less than 10,000 from hitting that 100,000. And one of the things I'm excited about is I'm gonna pull the trigger really soon in the next few months to actually secure an editor to help me edit my videos. So if any of you out there are really good at editing videos, leave a comment below, give me some ideas. Maybe that's something that you want to do. Maybe that's a friend of yours is wanting to edit videos for me. I'm interested in pursuing that a little bit, seeing what that all involves, because I can make a lot more videos. I can film, but what's slowing me down is really coming back to the edit room. Sometimes I can spend 3 days editing one video. Now that's not working, 10 hours a day, but when I have time to go in there and start editing, it can really grind up 3 whole days. So leave a comment below if you have some ideas what I should do to kind of help me get my videos edited so that I can make videos more frequently. I've got a lot of great video footage already ready to be made into videos, but it's taken so much time to make those videos. Guys, if you're like me, you've had your fair share of having to put queens in colonies, and you have to do that when you make a package up. You get a brand new package, you got to install the queen. And when you make a split, sometimes you buy a new queen to put in the split that you made. That's another example why you have to introduce a queen as a new beekeeper. Also, if your queen fails, something happens to her, you have to buy a new one. Then you have to introduce the queen again. So there's many examples why as a beekeeper, we do have to introduce new queens. Now, if you've never had to introduce a queen, you haven't been a beekeeper very long, because there is so much queen failure that happens in beekeeping. You're lucky if you've had your colony all season so far and you haven't had a queen issue. You're really lucky if you're in your second year with the same queen, and you're good as gold if you're in year number 3 and you have the same queen and you know it because there's some kind of mark on her. Some people say, oh, I've had the same queen for 39 years. No, you're just blind. You don't know what your queen looks like. They're replacing her, you just can't tell it. So typically, you're not going to have the same queen much longer than 3 years tops. I mean, it can happen, but it usually doesn't. We're going to do this experiment by grabbing a frame out of a hive. We're going to take that queen, put her in a queen cage with 4 dead bees. And the reason why a lot of people say you need to make sure the candy is facing up because the attendants in the queen cages often die, and if the candy's facing down and the other bees try from the hive try to eat through the candy, those dead bees, her attendants that died, will clog the opening and she can't get out. All right, let's go. One dead bee. I picked these up under a light, under a security light, that they were sitting there overnight being dead, so they're dead. So we've got some bees that are dead in there. This will simulate the bees probably sealing off the exit for the queen, and we'll see what happens. Now, for those of you watching my video to gain more knowledge on inspecting a colony, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to smoke the entrance. That's just for the guard bees that are there. And then we're going to walk around to the back of the hive. I want you to always work the bees from either the side or the back. And then by doing so, we're going to smoke. We're going to lift up the top just enough to get some smoke under the hood. And then once we get smoke there, we're going to let the top settle back down. That gives a chance for that smoke to calm the bees down before we open it. When I open a hive up, what I like to do is open the front of it away from me. That way I'm lifting the bees, letting them go out the front, not lifting it behind where the bees are going to come up my shirt or something. Then we're going to look for small hive beetle there on that top cover. So in other words, I'm going to open it up and rotate the top like this. Now we can just check for small hive beetle. And small hive beetle means I'm just looking for that little black beetle. Good, don't see any. Gonna set the top aside for a minute. Now we're gonna smoke. That smoker is really working good. Can't hardly breathe. There's not much wind today. Usually that smoke is being blown away, but it's being blown right into my head. All right, so what we're going to look at today, we see some extra comb that's been placed on top. There's a bee that got stuck in the comb. Let's see if we can get it out. Oh, that's a nice rescue. And then we're going to just kind of remove a little bit of this extra comb. No, what we're going to be doing today is actually just inspecting this hive. Right off the bat, you've got to say to yourself, this hive is packed full. The reason they're building comb up here is because they want this deep so they can continue to expand. If you watched my last video, we built this together, and I built these frames, and then I added these plastic sheets of foundation, so they're ready to go to work pulling this out really well. Looking forward to that. So stay tuned. I'm going to give you a tip about adding this box to the top of this colony here, to this hive. So I'll give you a tip on how it really works out well, the way that I want to show you that I'm going to do it. But right now, let's just start looking for that queen. So we're going to, assess the hive. It has a lot of bees in it. It's full. When do you add your next box? I always say after 5 frames are full. I'm a little behind here. Every single frame looks full, doesn't it? It's a wonder they haven't swarmed yet. So let's look for swarm cells just to put ourselves at ease as we do our inspection. Why not look at the frame against the wall first? That's the one that I always like to look at or remove. If you take out the frame against the wall, you're going to give yourself more room so that you can actually manipulate these frames a little easier. Always work very slow motion, because you don't want bees to get overly excited about, if you're moving too quickly, or if you're moving abruptly, you're being rough with bees, it could have a negative effect on their gentleness. All right, on this frame next to the wall, they're starting to add some comb to it and put some nectar in it. Looks pretty good. And on the back side, it looks identical to the other side. They're moving along pretty good on getting that one established. We got our drone comb here, the green drone comb for mite control, so we'll just skip that for now. You want to make sure that you take it out when it is about half, 3/4 of the way capped over with drone brood, and that way what you can do is control mites with that green drone comb. I've got other YouTube videos on how to use that green drone comb for mite control. All right, let's take a look at this frame here, see what's on it. Ooh, it's heavy. got a lot of honey in it, a lot of nectar. You can tell by the weight, but it also has a lot of brood. And it has a very good brood pattern of that capped over pupae. I like that a lot. Let's go ahead and just examine it for the queen, since we do have some open cells, but it's going to be tough to find the queen on a frame like this where there really isn't any room for her to lay. On this side, she has room to lay, and there's a lot of eggs and larvae. Let's look for her carefully. Where are you, queen? Are you there? A lot of bees at the bottom. And so I look around for the queen by looking for a bee that's a little bit longer, more predominant thorax. This queen is not marked. I rarely mark my queens. I don't see her initially on that frame. I'm not 100% sure that I looked at everything, but we'll come back to that one if we don't find her on the next frame or the next few frames. Let's get a little smoke on there since I'm working bare-handed today, but the bees seem to be in a pretty good mood. Man, I was working some bees yesterday bare-handed. Gotta tell you the truth, they got me a few times. Wow. I had to go to my gloves. So our job today is to inspect this hive, see what it looks like. So we see some good brood. Looks like our queen is doing a good job. We see a lot of resources here. We see a lot of stored honey and nectar. We see a very crowded deep hive body. We see a very solid brood pattern. You can see here the different stages of larvae. How beautiful it is. You're looking for pearly white larvae. So we've got eggs, larvae, capped over pupae, all in one frame. So very good brood. I like to use plenty of smoke. There's nothing wrong with taking advantage of your smoker to keep your bees kind of calmed down, especially if you're working bare-handed and you want to take your time. Let's keep this colony calm. Move your hive tool very slowly from one end of a frame to another end of the frame. Don't get too fast in your movements. I like to take my frame and set it on top of another frame in the hive so that I can get position under my ears of these top bars here to kind of hold it correctly. Now that is just a fabulous, unbelievable, great capped over frame there. It looks beautiful, doesn't it? All pupae, solid brood pattern. I love it. Not going to find the queen there usually unless she's just skipping by and admiring her work. She's going to be more on this side where you see more open cells she could be laying in. So let's look carefully for the queen here. Keep watching this video. I've got a great tip coming up on how to add that second box, the blue box that we built. You're going to really like my tip I give you. Nothing on that side much in the way of a queen. There she is, right in the center. Let me come around and show you this queen because I'm a little too far away where I'm standing. But you can tell there's the queen. I'm trying to mark her for you in the edit room. All right, so let's go ahead and put this hive back together. And we're going to take one frame out, so we do need an extra frame. I'll grab one. But right now, what I'm going to do is show you a trick that I like to use. I like to take one frame out of this blue, the new deep that we're going to give them. And we're going to put one frame down here. Now, we know the queen is not in this bottom deep anymore. So we're going to add a frame like that. And let's go ahead and give them one more from this up here. That'll give them two frames in the bottom that they can continue to expand out on. They want to make more wax. We'll give them some frames to build wax, more wax frames on. Give them some more room down here. That might help them from swarming, from being overcrowded in this deep. Let's take out a frame that has some brood on it. I want to put a frame of brood up in this blue box because I'm forcing the bees here to want to move up. So we're going to maybe take this middle frame out and we'll put it in the middle of this box here. How about that? So let's do our little J-hook hive tool trick and prop this up and get that going out of there. Let's get that end up in the air. Let's get this end up in the air. All right. Go ahead and lift that out with my hive tool. Ooh, it's got a lot of good brood on it. All right, let's get a good grip on it and just set it in the center right here of this blue deep hive body. Wow. All right, now let's put this frame here in the center. That should give us 10 in the bottom deep. And that'll help them draw that out a little better. It was against the wall. Let's move all the frames tight toward the center. Some of you sometimes make the mistake of leaving gaps in your frames and you get some stray looking comb everywhere. So try to keep all your frames tight together. Don't leave any spaces at all. Now let's put this deep hive body on top of this one. Like this. Perfect. All right. What we're doing by putting this frame right here in the middle that has brood on it, we're actually baiting the colony to move up into this blue deep. By doing that, they see there's brood up there, they just start moving up there. So we're not waiting for them to draw all that new comb out, we're forcing them to get up there and start business as usual. Isn't that a great tip? That's a great tip, people. Woo! Here's my queen right here. So let's wait until I got a good angle to pick her up. I like to pick her up with my right hand. And I've got her by the wings. Now you've seen me do this before, but I'm just going to take the queen and put her head first into, maybe the back camera can see her, but I'm going to put her head first in the hole and just kind of encourage her to walk in. All right, she walked in there with these other dead bees. Now we have our observation hive here. Really not an observation hive, but I guess it is, but it's only containing one frame. Gonna put it in position, being careful. Open the door a little wider. All right.
Very few bees are wanting to go and start working their way up the tube. I've noticed that some will look in there and then back away. So after about an hour of hanging in this orientation, we've had a few bees ever go much further than just have a look into the tube. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually rotate it about 90 degrees and see if that makes any difference. I believe we still have one dead bee blocking the tube. All right, we have a bee going in and looking at the candy. That bee does seem to be removing some of the candy. I saw some fall. It'd be interesting to see if that bee can drag out the dead bee. I do see more candy kind of being pulled out of the tube by that particular bee right there. And it is amazing to think of all these bees on this frame that boils down to one who's working to release the queen, just one. Yep, a lot more candy being pulled out. I didn't see this at all when it was hanging down, but now that it's hanging in this direction, there does seem to be more bees either who found it, but they're definitely removing the candy. And there does seem to be more bees interested in helping out. There's several of them watching and helping. There's definitely a dead bee in the canal. Well, there's a little bit of work done with it laying at this horizontal position, but nothing very impressive. Okay, by hanging it in this position, I do see the queen has worked her way up to the candy into the tube. Here she comes and she's out just like that. I'm gonna have to say, based on this work that I've done today, by far putting the candy plug up works tons better because it allows the queen to come out once she has enough space to get out. I think it might work to eventually get the queen out once they clear that candy, but in this case it was a lot faster with the candy plug up. What we're seeing here is a retinue. A lot of people wonder what a retinue is. It's the bees that are encircling the queen and they're taking care of her. They're licking pheromones from her and they're also feeding her royal jelly. Because she was in the cage, they have to attend to her now, which they couldn't do earlier. So they're getting more pheromones picked up and giving her a good amount of food. All right, so now we're gonna release the queen, let her back in. Got her in my hand here. And there she goes.
One of the things that fascinated me in our little experiment we did, and again, this is just us doing an experiment on one frame. You know, we need to repeat this many times to get really strong answers on it, but just out of the box doing it one time gives us an idea of what happened in this particular hive situation. And here's a theory that I have. When I placed it in this way with the candy down and I had a dead bee, I had an opening in the candy that you probably remember. I had the dead bee facing down and I had several dead bees inside of here. Some were blocking the entrance. That's the reason that many people say don't put it with the candy down, because the attendants will possibly die and block that entrance. And in our case, what I thought was interesting was that as bees would kind of look up in that hole, or I think they were sniffing, they're very good smellers, you know, with their antennas or picking up these scents or pheromone. It seems like to me that they were repelled by the scent of the dead bee. I don't know, it just looked like they didn't want to have anything to do with the opening when the dead bee was very close to that candy. They didn't really want to go in there. Maybe there was another reason. But then when I placed it sideways, I did see them making a better attempt at taking the candy away. But the dead bees were still blocking that. So in our case, the queen couldn't get out, even though they had cleared a way for a lot of the candy to be not blocking that entrance anymore. But what really won was when we turned it this way and all the dead bees fell down out of the way, then instantly almost the queen just walked out. Now, let me say that when we sell our packages, our 3-pound packages, we use this particular queen cage. However, we don't put attendants in this cage. So I tell people that buy our packages to hang it with the candy down, because I want the candy to be, you know, this is going to be filled with candy, and I want the candy to be closer to the center where the bees are, so they'll eat through it faster. If you hang this really high up near the top bars, bees may not be so apt to, in my theory anyway, so apt to get started on the candy. So I tell people to stick a nail through there, hang it with the candy down, so this is kind of deeper down near the comb. But in that scenario, the reason I say that is because we don't have attendants that can die and block the exit of the queen. Does that make sense? Now, some of you may not be familiar with the other cages. Here's a common cage. This is called the California mini cage. This California mini cage is really cool. I use it a lot in queen production. It has a black cylinder that goes into this opening, and that cylinder is filled with candy about the same amount as this space here, almost 1 inch, a little bit less. But the cage that most of you see, or most of us are familiar with because it's got a lot of history behind it, is this Benton 3-hole queen cage. And as you can tell here, it has 3 holes in it, and that equals the space that we put the queen in. Now, this usually always has attendants in it. I'm sure there's some people that may use it without attendants, but in this case, when I use them and I ship my bees, not in a package, shipping people queens that they purchase, I always put attendants in these. So in this case, this first circle here near this hole is filled with queen candy. Candy that the bees eat through from the hive. They eat from, you pull the cork out here and they eat into the candy, open that up, and the queen walks out, right? Some beekeepers make the mistake and they pull the cork out of the non-candy side over here, and it's a direct release of the queen, and that can be problematic if that colony isn't ready to receive that queen just yet. You don't want to release her too suddenly like that. I've had many people do that. Other people have told me that they get packages, especially this year. Several people told me they got packages from other suppliers. There was no candy in these at all, and there was a cork on both ends. And when they asked the supplier, what am I supposed to do about slowly releasing the queen, the supplier said, take a marshmallow, take the cork out, shove a marshmallow in there, and let them eat through that marshmallow. No, okay, that'll work. It's confusing to me why a packaged bee supplier wouldn't go ahead and make up that queen candy and do it the way we've always done it. I'm not sure why that was different like that. Maybe they didn't have the candy, didn't have time to make it, or bought them without the candy in them and didn't know what to do. I don't know. But it's supposed to have candy in one circle. That's called the Benton queen cage. These, we've used these for years, and these are a little bit unusual in how you get them into between frames, I always thought, because they're wide enough where they're wider than the gap between frames or comb is in the hive. They're not in there that long, I understand that. But in this case, it seems like to me it's best to hang it with the candy facing up so the attendants that they die go down and the queen can walk out. Now, they do have slits in the side. If you notice here, these little slits are air slits. Here they are down here. And in case somebody would smash it into a comb, which you should not do, there is probably enough slits in this side to help these bees have some air going through there. Bees don't have lungs. They don't breathe like humans do, of course, but they're made up of cells that need to be oxygenated. So basically, we do have these 3 types of queen cages that are very popular today. And if you've kept bees anytime at all and purchased queens, you probably have come across these 3 in different scenarios. Let me take a sip here. I roast my own coffee beans. A lot of you may be new to my channel. You don't realize that I am a coffee connoisseur or / coffee snob. I really do like a certain type of way of making my own coffee. I never drank coffee maybe until I was, I don't know, 40, 50 years old. I think most of the time I drank it just to stay awake, and it was from drip coffee makers. You buy big cans of coffee that was, you know, from the grocery store and all. But anyway, some friends got me started on roasting my own beans, grinding my own beans, and wow, that is such a part of my life now. I really enjoy the whole process of roasting my own beans and roasting them. I mean, I'll pull up a chair and just sit there and watch them cook or roast. Get them to the right. I usually stop roasting once I reach the first pop. When you're roasting coffee beans, they have, I think, 2 pops at least. But once I hear that first pop, I know they're ready to be stopped roasting, and then I let them go into a special container for a couple of days, and then I grind them each morning, fresh ground coffee. Oh man, it's so good. So I am a coffee snob. I really enjoy it. I don't drink a lot of coffee. I drink maybe 1 or 2 cups a day. I just love the flavor a lot. I don't add a lot of milk or sugar or stuff like that to it. I used to add a lot of honey to it, but not adding so much honey anymore. Today I want to ask you what you think about bee clubs. I've mentioned bee clubs before, and some of you have asked me what I think about bee clubs, and I want to talk about it because I've had several people tell me, and especially some B Team 6 members that have had trouble finding mentors to help them in their beekeeping endeavors. And they've told me that they've tried to go to bee clubs, but they were treated very poorly. They said that in some bee clubs, you know, there's somebody there that will talk down to them and make them feel bad for asking a question. And they feel like they can't really just share with other people there that they don't know anything, and they feel like they're asking stupid questions, and they're being treated like they're stupid. And I get that. I've been to my fair share of bee clubs, and I totally understand that. I have witnessed that myself, and I see it a lot in the beekeeping community. I really do. Many of you have told me before, I think even in comments, that somebody made you feel bad because you were wanting to ask them to help you or answer a question about something that was simple for them, but it's not simple for you. And because you asked it, somebody mansplained it to you. Somebody said it in such a way where they made you feel you were judged. You're criticized or judged for asking beekeeping questions. And that's really too bad. And here's my thoughts on that. Some people, my buddies say that when people do that, they have a small man syndrome. They feel so much bigger when they can make somebody else feel small. And so a lot of people, I notice even in comments here, anytime I make a comment, anytime I make a video, some of the comments, there are always people that have to tell me what I could have done better, what I should have done. Oh, you should have done it this way. You should have done it that way. And some people just have a desire to correct people, to tell people, oh, I know more than you, and it makes them feel good. Now, I know some of you may be telling me things legitimately. I've learned a lot from your comments, don't get me wrong. Some of those things are really good. But on the other hand, there are some people that just have to tell other people they're doing it wrong so they feel better about themselves. It's crazy, isn't it? But that's what happens in the beekeeping community. I see this a lot. Look, I understand that there's always opinions in beekeeping, and I know that there are people that know a lot more than I do, of course, and there's a lot of people that know a lot less. But one thing that I try to do, and especially in my B Team 6 mentorship program, I get a lot of people that show me that they're having a problem. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, uh-oh, they don't know the very basics of this. I've got to help them along. So when I respond to them, I'm not going to come across by saying, what? Are you an idiot? Everybody ought to know you can't do that. What are you doing? Now you've wasted my time by being an idiot. You don't treat people that way. That's not what I would ever think or say. But I am surprised when I see somebody not getting a very basic thing, but then I realize that's why they signed up for me to help them. And so that's the level that they're at right now. And I have to accept that. Oh, they're at a level that's going to require some very, very basic, fundamental things to share with them. And I'm cool with that. I'm like, okay, good. I know where they're at. I know what I can say and how to bring them along. But other people don't want to take the time to do that. They think they should be stronger in their knowledge base. If they're going to a bee club, you should know more. They're going to talk bad about you. But I'll tell you what, the big thing is there are people that have to prove that they know more than others. You know, sometimes I teach beekeeping classes in our training center here. And one of the things I have to say is we're going to go through a basic beekeeping course today. This is not an advanced course. Please do not ask me advanced questions to prove how much you know. Because most people here are brand new beekeepers. They know very little. And if you start asking advanced questions, that's not the scope of a basic beekeeping course. And that does kind of help people understand, okay, he knows to look for people showing off with their knowledge. It has happened to me a lot when I'm teaching basic courses. You know, I'll teach a basic class where there'll be people there that don't know up from down about beekeeping. They don't know to call it a frame. They don't know to call it a super or a deep. They have no idea what a bottom board's for or an entrance reducer. They don't know basic anatomy of a honeybee or the bee colony, nothing. So we don't need somebody there that knows everything and more and then they start asking very complicated questions. And it's funny to me that some people actually will show how much they know in a question and not really be asking a question. That always humors me, that somebody has to say, you know, David, I've realized in my research that I've done on propolis that certain propolis has these particular chemicals in it that's found in the northern part of the USA versus the southern part, and that difference in chemical can have a structural integrity problem within the comb itself, in that they use that propolis to strengthen and sterilize the comb. And what's your thoughts on that? You know, it's like, dude, this is a beginner's class. I don't have any thoughts on that. I'm not going to address that. So there are some people in bee clubs that feel the same way. They got to go to a bee club for one reason. I got to go there and show everybody how much smarter I am than they are. We need people to be kind. I mean, beekeeping is all about helping each other out. I mean, look, a basic beekeeping colony of bees is a single organism. All those bees who are working together, they're not criticizing each other and telling people you're stupid. They're like, hey, let's get this job done. You go forage, I'll put when you bring it back, I'll put it in a cell and we'll get honey stored. They're working together. Beekeepers need to work together. And I really don't know what to tell you about picking a club, but I will say this. If you go to a bee club and they're talking down to you, making you feel stupid, and when they answer your questions, they make you feel bad, or they judge you for asking, or they're critical about it, you know what? That's a bee club that you probably don't need to go to anymore, okay? Maybe that's the only one in your area. Well, maybe you don't need to go to that one anymore. I don't know what to tell you, but there's some bee clubs that I would not go to because of the personalities that really do cause it to be a place where there's criticism, judgment, and just a spirit of being very unkind. And I don't think anybody should have to deal with that. Now, on the other hand, there are some bee clubs that are awesome. I've been to many, and I would say the majority of bee clubs are made up of people that are very caring, that are very understanding, that aren't critical and judgmental, and that will really help new beginners to understand the ropes and know more about beekeeping without feeling bad about it. Oh, here's a Bee Team 6 member now. Hey, Lauren, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm out here making a video.
Oh, I got a quick question for you.
Okay, you'll be live on the video.
No.
Hey, you interrupt my video, you got to be on the video.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Let's see.
I've got quite a few hives, and I opened some of them up today. In the brood boxes, I've got some frames that the bees have not touched.
They haven't drawn out any comb at all?
No, some of them are old frames that have been scraped off. Should I just take them out?
Yeah.
And put new ones in?
You know, I had a little bit of that this year. I had some old frames that haven't been drawn out in storage for several years, and I needed them this year because I ran out of equipment. And I noticed my bees, either number one, they didn't like them because I probably should have coated them with wax a little better. And then number two, they kind of pulled out some more columns on them. I think they just didn't have enough wax. Mine were the yellow ones. I have more trouble with yellow ones not getting drawn out.
I think some of mine were yellow. I think most of them were yellow. There might even been some older ones that were white.
Oh yeah, the white ones too. Yeah. I really. I was going to say I really have good luck with my black ones.
Okay. Well.
But yeah, I think
I've got some that have got drawn out comb on them that they've had wax worms in them, and I just don't know if I know. Sometimes they'll clean them up. I just don't know. I don't know. I might put some of them in and see what happens.
I tell you, if you're going to use some foundation, plastic foundation that's had waxworm damage to it, you really need to go and scrape it down and add more wax to it to get a good pull. Yeah, to get a good pull.
Okay.
I really think so.
I've got wax that I can melt and brush on them, so.
Okay. Yeah.
I may look at doing that then. So.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah, I think you should have a few more weeks of bees bringing in nectar so they can pull those frames out. I think you got enough time to get them pulled out.
How much longer will they make honey? Is that the end of it too? A couple of weeks?
They're going to make honey traditionally, you know, for us until the clover dries up. Yep. So I would say, you know, it's been dry. We got that rain today, but I'm going to say once our clover kind of dries out, that's going to be the end of it. And that could be that can be 2 weeks, or it could be into August. It's hard to tell, you know.
Okay. So it may not have much more time.
Yeah.
But we might have. Hard to tell.
Yeah, if in a perfect scenario, we have another month. And
Okay.
if it's not going to be good, we only have about 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. I hope we have more.
Yeah, me too, Lauren.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Well, maybe you learned something there. B Team 6 members are people that have signed up for my mentorship program that come up with problems, and that wasn't staged at all. I just decided to go ahead. I have been interrupted a lot making videos with B Team 6 members, and I just take the call and I edit that part out. But I'll double check with Lauren again and make sure he's okay with me leaving it in there, and if he does, I'll leave it in there. If he doesn't, I'll take it out. So you'll get to decide whether he wanted his voice on there or not. But he was having a little trouble with getting some combs pulled out, and you probably heard me say that it is tough sometimes getting wax foundation pulled out, drawn out. If it's lacking enough wax on it, or if it's been in storage a long time, that wax, I don't know, it kind of, I wouldn't say it evaporates, but the wax kind of loses its waxiness maybe, and the bees aren't so apt to treat it like they do fresher new combs with or foundation with more wax on it. And I think that's pretty cool to make sure you add wax to your plastic foundation. I know companies do a great job putting wax on there. There's some companies that even add extra wax that I'm working with, and I'm looking forward to talking more with them about their frames. But it seems like to me that there's, you heard me mention the different colors of foundation, that I have more trouble with the yellow foundation than I do with black foundation. Black foundation for me, either the company that I buy it from and how much wax they put on it, that could be it, not the color. But anyway, the black ones I just have wonderful luck with. I really do. I like black foundation. I can see the eggs better. Oh my gosh. Boom. White eggs on a white foundation or a yellow foundation, it's impossible for me to see. But black foundation with a white egg on the bottom of the cell stands out and says, look, there's an egg. So those are things to think about. You didn't know you were going to get that kind of stuff in coffee time today. So I know some of you are watching this and you have probably the ability as a bee club president, as a bee club attender, that you can kind of get on top of this. If this is going on at your bee club, maybe you can pull aside the people that are making new beginners feel bad and say, look, let's go a little bit softer. Let's go a little bit easier. We need to help these new beginners. We need to help them understand. We need to help them grow. And look, we were all new at one time. No mother gave birth to a child that came out wearing a hat and veil and holding a hive tool and a smoker. Nobody was born that way. All of us had to go through the beginning stages of, what is this all about? What in the heck am I supposed to do with this? This scenario I've never seen. Oh my gosh, you know, we all had to do that. Slow down. Remember, you were new one time too. Proud that you know a lot now. That's cool. Good for you. You're a cool dude. You're a cool lady knowing as much as you do. But if you're really cool, you don't have to prove it. All right? Okay. Now, one of the ways that you can go to a bee club and not have to ask the very, very basic, fundamental, brand new questions is you can take a class. By taking a beekeeping class, you can get more knowledge of the fundamentals in beekeeping, get your feet wet, be a little bit more advanced. By the time you go to the bee class, go to the bee club, I mean, you'll be able to say, okay, I know what they're talking about. There's a lot of ways you can take beekeeping courses. And as always, I want you to take some of my beekeeping courses because I put a lot of time and energy in it. You're watching this channel because you must like the way that I talk. and present the material. And my online courses are just the same way. And so that'd be very helpful. So I'll leave links in the description below so that you can take one of my beekeeping courses online from the comfort of your home. And oh my gosh, with gas over $5 a gallon, who wants to go and drive a long way to a bee club and bee class, and you can take it from the comfort of your home? You know, we need to save money here and there every bit we can. I get that. Speaking of burning up some gas money, I'm going to be speaking at the Eastern Apicultural Society in Ithaca, New York. And that'd be, I believe, the end of July or first part of August. So if you're in that area or you want to hit the EAS conference, check out that website, Eastern Apicultural Society. Just do a Google search. I'll leave it a link in the description. But I'll also be heading up the field test of Master Beekeeper candidates. So if you are an EAS Certified Master Beekeeper, I can use you as a volunteer to help me test some candidates that are trying to be an EAS Certified Master Beekeeper. I'd like to see you guys. If you're at EAS this year and you're a fan of this channel, and if you see me, come to me and say hello. I don't want you to stay off in a corner and go, oh, I don't want to interrupt him. I don't want to bother David. You bother me. I love it to have a chance to meet you guys. So when I'm at EAS, you better come up to me and tell me that you're a subscriber and you like my videos. I realize that a lot of you watch this video and you don't realize that I've made literally hundreds and hundreds of other videos here on YouTube. You're asking me questions about videos I've already made, so be sure and binge watch me if you can. Here's the way you can do that. Look at this video down here in the corner. This one is about all those different weird things that bees do, and especially in the month of June. Activities around the hive that sometimes you're wondering, is it swarming? Are they robbing the hive? What is going on? Check this video out. A lot of fun. Bonus tips for June. I'll see you over there.